So tell me a little bit about who your biggest clients are and some of the things that if you look back on 2013, what are the sort of biggest accomplishments you think for the space?
I mean, 2013 has been an amazing year on the sell side. I think what we've seen is a big adoption of programmatic among premium publishers. I think if you look back just about 12 months ago, I think a lot of publishers were viewing programmatic as a remnant solution. They were really viewing it as like, how do I just clear my unsold inventory? And I think the transition that we've seen is a view towards programmatic being more than that, an opportunity to actually sell inventory to strategic buyers on an upfront basis, kind of cut preferred deals. So we've seen a lot of broadcast clients, for example, start to deploy programmatic solutions. So you look at guys, like ABC, like A&E Networks, obviously partners like Dailymotion, right across the spectrum, all the way down to UGC sites, live streaming sites, those kind of sites that are really taking programmatic as an opportunity to actually generate more money and generate efficiencies.
How much hand-holding and head-rubbing has that taken? I mean, has it been? I mean,
when you talk about broadcast clients, hand-holding is one word for it. I would like to think of it more as kind of a consulting approach, where you're going into these clients and they're hearing more and more that from their advertisers that money is being transacted programmatically. They're aware that up to about 25% of all budgets are now at some point in the transaction being executed through a programmatic platform. So they know that there's a market opportunity. They know they need to be in it, but they're not sure how to do it without screwing up their existing direct sold or reserved business.
Well, it's interesting because as a technology platform, it almost feels like you need to sort of move up the food chain because broadcasters in particular are definitely not equipped to sort of deploy an automated business unit, right? They don't have, yield optimization isn't something they've really had to do a lot of.
Yeah, I think there's generally in the industry, there's a tendency to assume that broadcasters are dumb, which is completely wrong. The level of sophistication within these organizations is actually in many cases surprisingly high. And I speak to people every day at big kind of three-letter broadcasters who are absolutely on top of this stuff. They know it inside out. It's not a challenge of not being equipped or capable. It's a question of these are big businesses with hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, in digital revenue today. And they want to make sure that as this transition in the way that advertisers are spending their money and executing their budgets, as that transition occurs, that they're able to navigate that transition seamlessly without disrupting their existing business. So it's not about not being equipped or not having the knowledge. It's about really change management because we are going through a big shift in the way budgets are being spent.
I think that's fairly consistent because having the right strategy and setting the course, if the organization isn't ready for it, it's not going to get you
exactly.
there.
And there are big entrenched relationships and large sales teams that are all comped on hitting a specific number and making sure that, for example, if this sales guy, he's the rep for Ford, that if Ford start buying programmatically and those budgets come through via RTB channels, that sales rep can get recognition for that. He's probably been going into the CMO at his client and explaining, well, we now have a portion of our inventory available programmatically. So the fact that sales teams can now actually get recognition for that, that's one of the strategies that these big broadcast clients are starting to use to make sure their sales teams get on board with this new way of selling.
Do you think that success in leveraging programmatic platforms to drive inventory premiums for pure online video is going to provide enough of a carrot to the broadcast guys on the traditional TV side to start to loosen up more inventory in a sort of more programmatic construct?
The fact is you have to sell what your customers want to buy.
But I guess my point is, do you feel like on the programming and broadcasting side, coming from traditional television, deploying on digital platforms, are they actually talking to one another? Are the digital guys really? Because my personal experience is I see extremes, and I'm wondering how that manifests when it comes to deploying on the platform.
Oh, I'm always amazed at how much publishers talk to each other and internally about what they're seeing in terms of the big trends. I think there's a level of education and sophistication that we're routinely surprised by. I think that there are lots of conversations at companies, the big kind of three-letter broadcasters, around how do they manage this migration, and I think the level of sophistication is very high.
It's great. And so where are you guys focused? We sort of talked about what 2013 was, 2014, 2015 looked like for you.
Yeah, so 2013 was an amazing year for us. Our business tripled from a revenue standpoint. The company's at 130 employees. We expect to double that again this year. So our business has grown very dramatically because we've seen this kind of big shift towards programmatic. So big priorities for us this year. Multi-platform is a huge driver of growth for us. We're doing a lot of investment into things like server-side ad insertion in terms of things like stitching into HLS streams to enable multi-platform distribution without having to kind of re-encode the asset or have to have client-side SDKs. So putting much more of the sophistication and the actual ad insertion into the server side and happening right in the stream itself. So that's a big driver. We're also looking at obviously programmatic reserved, so enabling publishers to sell large swathes of inventory on an upfront basis. And then obviously international is a big area of growth for us as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.